Good afternoon and welcome to the meeting of the Council's Executive Committee. My name is Derek Brooke, I'm Chair of the Committee. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube. Hello everyone. Except where matters are confidential or there are any exempt items, which I don't think we have at the moment. So can I take this opportunity to remind you all of domestic arrangements. Conduct yourselves in an appropriate manner. Don't forget we're out there on YouTube. Keep your mobile phones on silent. Please don't interrupt other speakers and don't leave your microphone on when you finish speaking. In lines with COVID guidance, everyone's reminded about social distancing, which I can just about see those of you at the other end of the table. Wear a face mask if you get up and leave. If you're just sitting here, you're all right because you're far enough away. When we come to a vote, I'll confirm the recommendation and request a mover and a seconder. We won't have to take a roll call now because we're all in the same room and we can see that we're here, unless someone actually moves that it's a named vote. So that's the formalities done. Let's proceed with today's business, which I think is probably apologies and attendance of substitute members.
I'm here subbing for Councillor Blizzard.
Right, it's Councillor Maddox, apologies. Yes. We got any more? Does that 1, 2, 3? Is that right? Okay, urgent items. Don't think we've got any, have we? Nope. Delegations, we haven't got any. Admissions of public and press, whether we want them excluded, don't think so. It's all part one, isn't it? Declarations of interest, you can do it now, or if an item comes up, you can do it then. Dun, dun, dun. Confirmation of minutes. The confirmation of minutes of 26th of May. Have they agreed? Do I have to sign them? Yeah. What, I really sign them? Like with a real pen and that? Really? Goodness me. Goodness me. Oh, yeah, there's supposed to be a load of these for me to sign, well, somewhere. Hidden away in some vault in the town hall. Right. There you go. Thank you. Public participation, we haven't got any. We haven't got any questions or deputations. So we are actually now going to go on to a proper real agenda and have Levelling Up Fund report. Are we? Yes, we are. Ta-da!
Helen.
Hello. So I have to turn myself off now, don't I?
Thank you, Chair. I'm Helen Houston, Development Services Manager, and I'm presenting the report today on the Levelling Up Fund. So this report seeks authority to make an application to the Levelling Up Fund, which was announced in the spending review, and the prospectus was launched in March of this year. Applications can be up to £20 million, and the timescales for the first round have been quite tight, with the deadline for submissions the 18th of June. Each authority in the country was put into priority 1, 2 or 3, with priority 1 being the highest priority, and Barrow was the only local authority in Cumbria to be in priority 1. This involved us moving quickly to bring a bid together, so we based our bid on future High Street Fund proposals, which were developed and evidenced last year, and since March we've been working to bring the application together. We've now got, as detailed in the report, a package of projects to submit as part of our application, really forming two elements. The first is the modernisation of the Market Hall and linking the Market Hall to the Forum via a new facade on Duke Street, and incorporating elements such as a food hall, new and additional stalls, a cycle hub, a play zone, and also linking to the Forum Theatre through new entrance and linked to the proposed community hub that will be located there. The second element is accessibility improvements in and around the Market Hall and Forum, so on Duke Street, Stephen Street, Dalton Road and Cavendish Street, to improve the public realm by greening up the area, new infrastructure such as benches and street furniture, and new bus stops, and allowing buses only to pass on Duke Street between the Town Hall and Market Hall and Forum. So the funding ask for these packages is £16 million with a 10% local authority contribution. And that's one of the recommendations that we're asking to be confirmed in the report. Since the report has been published last week, as part of the 50th celebrations of the Market Hall, we did do some consultation, socially distanced, in the market with members of the public, and it was really overwhelmingly positive support for the proposals. The images and concept plans that have been drawn up are conceptual at the moment. They're not detailed designs, but they've been able to give members and members of the public an indication of the type of design that might come forward should we be successful with the funding. Would you like me to run through the recommendations, Chair, or you want to do it?
Yeah, please.
So there's a number of recommendations in the report. Executive Committee is asked to agree that delegated authority be given to the Director of People and Place in consultation with the Chief Executive, Director of Resources and Leader of the Council to submit the application to the Levelling Up Fund based on the package of projects outlined in this report for the deadline of the 18th of June 2021. And then to agree the principle of providing the 1.6 million core funding and recommend approval of this to full council. And then to recommend to full council that if the bid is successful, the council provide up to 1.6 million of core funding to invest into the proposal by revising the capital programme. The funding invested would be repaid from new income generation activities or reductions in existing subsidies. Secondly, if the bid is successful, that the council agrees to the inclusion of up to 16 million of project funding into the capital programme from 21-22. Thirdly, if the bid is successful, that Barrow Borough Council would act as the accountable body for the funding. And finally, to authorise the Chief Executive in consultation with the Director of Resources, Leader and Chair of the Executive Committee to enter into a grant funding agreement with the Government.
Thanks, Helen. That saved me having to read it all out. Have we got any questions? I must say, me and Effie are really looking forward to the play zone in the market. The sooner that's open, the better. Has anybody got any questions? We have all been at briefings about this, obviously. Alan?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just a couple of things, really. Why do we have to go through the Cumbria County Council to get our consultants for the RIBA 3 design stage? Will they be the same consultants that failed in our future High Street application? And how much are our consultants going to charge? And will they be subjected to competitive bidding for the contracts?
Are these questions for me, or did anyone?
I don't know, whoever wants to answer.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What?
Turn it on. So the consultants that are doing the overall work for us for the application form is Hatch Regenerus, which is in addition to the work they're already doing for us on Townsdale. So it's completely different consultants that worked on Future High Street Fund. In terms of their practical work around the design and the drawings, that's been based on previous work that was done, and we have got some sub-consultants working on it, some of which will go through Cumbria County Council for their element of the scheme, some will go through Barrow, but that's for the initial design works. When we get the bid, which we're confident that we will, then we will go through a full procurement process to take us to the next stage of design and build. But in the project management structure, in the full application form, there's going to be a very clear diagram that sets out who is responsible for what elements of this capital project, and I'm happy to share that with you once we've got their final product. And I will come back to you, because I have promised to come back around the overall costs for this once we get to the end of the process.
It's just that, you know, going into a major project like this, we should have the knowledge of how much it's going to cost, rather than going into it before we get the bill. Is that right, or am I wrong there?
But I think we've got to the concept design where we've got a funding envelope which enables us to say what elements we can deliver within how much we think we can bid for, but the detail of what that looks like will come next when we get the funding. So that will be the open and transparent bidding process.
No more questions? I'm aware we've all been at various other briefings about this. Can somebody move and second the recommendation then? Sorry? Yeah. Anyone second? Yeah. All those for? Against? Abstain? Right, splendid. Next one is National Lottery Heritage Fund application submission. And is that you again, Helen?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. This report is requesting agreement for delegated authorities to submit an application to the National Lottery Heritage Fund. The application will be to build on a micro-grant scheme that was run by the National Lottery Heritage Fund themselves in Barrow a number of years ago that was very successful, and actually they went on to build some of their grant programming work around the success of the scheme that was run in Barrow. So we wanted to build on that by offering a similar scheme of micro-grants with a heritage theme to local community organisations, and to assist with help coming out of the COVID pandemic, but also to help them with their activities around heritage in Barrow. Also, as part of the project, we will be looking to develop a local list, which was something that was set out in the local plan, which was adopted in 2019. So a list of buildings of local importance. Obviously, the National Heritage Organisation, Historic England, have a listed building schedule, but we were wanting to do something with a local flavour, to list buildings that are important to people locally, but they might not necessarily be of the criteria that would warrant them being on the national list. We also want to develop work to investigate the opening up of the town hall building itself for more community uses, and to show off the building as a Grade 2 style listed building, so that people may come inside and use it more regularly. And finally, a temporary project officer would be appointed if the project was successful, to support the project on those three strands that I mentioned, and assist community organisations and individuals who are wanting to make applications to the micro-grant scheme. So the bid itself has been worked up. The approximate costs are set out in the report. And the recommendations would ask for match funding of £7,500 from the Major Projects Reserve of the Council, which is approximately 5.5% of the project, as match funding, to allow the project to be submitted to the North West panel of the National Lottery Heritage Fund, where we would hope that it would be successful.
Thanks, Helen. Any comments, anyone? Questions? Hazel?
Yeah, it's more a comment. I mean, obviously it's a good idea. But page 12, 3.6, 3.7, temporary heritage project officer role, could I request that we try very hard, and people do exist locally, that we have a local person with genuine local knowledge and enthusiasm who can actually spell the relative names on the that are to do with heritage buildings and stuff. We have a very active civic society. They have a wealth of knowledge. They need to be involved right from the start. I hope we're not going to see the usual names of people taking up this post from the usual art groups.
Just in response to Councillor Edwards' comment there, obviously in terms of recruitment, that will be open recruitment, and we would definitely want to appoint somebody with genuine enthusiasm, because I think that will really help to deliver the project and build on the work that we've already done on heritage in Barrow. Secondly, the local civic society actually were recipients of one of the original micro grants, and it was for the plaque scheme that members may be aware of in the town centre. There's actually one on the town hall, and council officers worked with the civic society to deliver that scheme, and we held a guided tour, and we actually had a reception in the Queen's Hall as well with the mayor, and it was really successful. So we did interview the civic society as part of the background to put in the application together. So they're definitely involved. So I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Could you just give me some information on, there's a couple of groups here that I'm not familiar with. Friends of Art Space, Full of Noises and Furnace Creatives, please.
Certainly, I'll try my best. Basically what we did with the consultation is we got a list from the Heritage Lottery Fund of the previous recipients, and then we wrote to them and asked them if they'd be willing to talk to us over Zoom to tell us about their experiences of receiving a grant in the first instance. So Friends of Art Space and Full of Noises, they worked on a similar project that was based in Barrow Park. Full of Noises are a sound artist organisation, and Friends of Art Space, I believe, are just a local group that have been set up involved in arts, and they did sort of storytelling about the history of Barrow Park and the old groundskeeper that had worked there. And Furnace Creatives, they're based in St Matthew's Hall, St Matthew's Community Centre on Hibbert Road. And they did a project that worked around local art that was created out of industrial materials. So potentially people that had worked, for example, in the shipyard that had made models and made other pieces of art and craft with materials used in the shipbuilding industry.
Omar, are we okay? Will somebody move the recommendation? Seconder?
I'll second that.
All agreed? Anyone against? Abstain? Fine. Right, next one. Let's have a look. What's next? What's next? What are we up to now? Local council tax reduction scheme. Am I still on track? Is that right? Right. Sue? Ta-da!
Thank you, Chair. This is an annual report that I bring to this committee, which goes on to full council. It's to decide upon the scheme for local council tax reduction for the next financial year ahead, so from April 22. It's asked well in advance. If there are to be changes, there's quite an intensive consultation process to go through, so I need to allow for time for that to happen should a change be proposed. My recommendation is to continue with the scheme as it is. That awards up to 100% support which mirrors the old council tax benefit scheme as was. In general terms, we do mirror that scheme as much as we can, so we don't pass on shortfall of funding to the applicants themselves. I have got a second recommendation in there, which is not usual. The caseload, as I would call it, has been increased in the estimate for this year's budget, but I'm reflecting on where we are in terms of numbers. I'm increasing that further for the scheme next year. So I need to update the medium-term financial plan. It's not a huge amount, but I just need to recognise that change because it would apply, I think, for that year only, and then numbers may come back down. But at the moment, to be prudent, I would put that extra in and run that over all of the years in the medium-term plan. In the report, I've set out sort of alternatives, what they might look like, things to consider, risks alongside a change in the scheme and what that might have as an impact on claimants. Only working age claimants can be impacted by a change or a recovery. Other claims are protected under the rules of the scheme. So I'd like to read the recommendations, if that's okay, Chair. So it's for this committee to recommend to Council to agree to continue the current scheme for 22-23 and also to update the medium-term plan for the financial impact of that. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Any questions? No? Move the recommendation? Yeah. Seconded? Yeah. All agreed? Yeah. Right, next one is additional restrictions grant.
Could I declare an interest, Chair? Seeing I've been applying for grants to do Highcliffe Community Centre, being the treasurer.
Right. Sue? So, yeah, I don't know if I have to declare the community, Borough Football Community Sports, do we? Is this one of the ones we get a grant from? I've lost track because we don't have pay rates. I'm not, no. No, okay, right. Oh, sorry, you haven't done your report yet, have you? Sorry, go on. Carry on.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm bringing this report, it's to do with the additional restrictions grant, which is the discretionary element of the COVID business support grants. We've fully spent the allocations we've had to date, 1.9 million between 453 businesses. These are businesses that are either outside the rating system or not within the scope of those rated that were mandated to close. So they've still been impacted economically, but they weren't on the closure list and they weren't in rating. I've put a very summarised list of the types of businesses that's involved. I have been I've grouped them up quite chunky, so you might not know what I mean by those, but Ted, just let me know if you want me to break those down. So having spent the first two allocations, authorities are allowed to apply for a third tranche allocation. That was set out with the budget back in March, so we knew what that amount was, and we have now received that. At the time of writing, I'd applied for but not received, but I have received it. You'll notice, if you're looking to add it up, that we have actually overspent on the first two allocations. We didn't want to not deal with applications that we'd received, so we carried on spending because we knew we would get the top up. But effectively, I have to deduct the slight, where I've got ahead of myself from the third allocation. So my report sets out options. Obviously, you could create a brand new scheme. You could do a hybrid of various things. I think, given the amount involved and the number of businesses that we have supported so far, I'm suggesting we just share it out based on the amounts of grant, the tiers, if you like, that have been paid so far. It's not a huge amount, but there's a lot of businesses to spread it over. As I say, alternatives would be to look at capping amounts, choosing business sectors, or a hybrid of some new and some top up. And I say it just seems like not a lot to spread around. So I'm recommending like a top up for all those that have received support already. But I'm happy to take views on that. It's just very difficult to come up with a scheme otherwise without some kind of steer. as I'm sure if some business types were excluded this time round, they'd obviously be asking questions why. So I'm really looking just continue the scheme as it is, but I would like members' view on that. And that's it. Yeah, we can very quickly get this spent, the top up, so we would actually have a closed scheme at that point. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Any questions? No? We all right with that then? Oh, somebody's got to move it again. Yeah.
I'll second it.
All agreed? Yeah. Splendid. Where are we now? Now then, this one will be really exciting. This is a consultation on the consistency in household and business recycling. And Steph, you're going to do a TikTok with it, are you?
Yeah.
Cool.
Interpretive dance. This is the third part of the central government consultation around the resources and waste strategy. You remember at the last exec committee, John Byford came to do a report on both of the previous two, and this one is around consistency. So it's basically the government saying that it would be good if there was a more of a standardised approach to how councils recycled their waste in the future, to improve recycling rates, to introduce a free garden waste service and a food waste service, which isn't currently done. Those are the key highlights. The report sets out the council's response to that, and there's a deadline to go back to government by the 4th of July. And this is purely because if some of these measures came in as they are, they would have a significant impact on the council in terms of its service and resource implications.
I thought you were going to do a dance, no?
I'm saving it now.
All right. Has anybody got any questions about the responses? Cool. Kevin?
Just a quick one, Chair. On page 27, I know what a tea caddy is, I know what a golf caddy is, but what's a food caddy?
Sorry, what is that? Page 27.
It's like a small plastic container that you put your food waste in. It's got like a little handle on it that you can keep in your kitchen and then take out and put on the curbside to be collected.
With that, Chair,
Seconder? All agreed? Wow, cool. Let's have a look. Adelphi Court. Dun, da, da. Is that Jan? All yours.
Thanks, Chair. I'm bringing this report to exec for agreement. I'm sure as many members are aware, we have leased the block of 12 flats to Richmond Fellowship, which was formerly Croflands, for the last 5 years successfully, and it's been used to accommodate people with mental health. Not time barred. It could be a property for life, or as long as they require it. The project has been really successful. Adelphi Court was a rather sad block of flats which we refurbished, and Richmond Fellowship approached us for accommodation, which was much needed in the town. We have had to extend the lease on a couple of occasions with it being COVID, because the Richmond Fellowship rely on funding from Cumbria County Council to provide the support, and the tendering process was deferred a couple of occasions, and now they're in the position where they've been awarded funding for the next 5 years. They've requested a lease for 3 years initially, with a view to looking to extend it a further 2 years, obviously depending on the economic and the funding situation as we move forward. So my recommendation is to ask members to confirm that the council will enter in a new lease for Adelphi Court with Richmond Fellowship from the period 1st of June 21 to the 31st of May 24. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Jan. Kevin?
Apologies. Thanks, Chair. Is anyone with a little bit of history knows what was taking place at the Adelphi Court? Because the antisocial behaviour taking place, it could have been demolished, but we held it out. We had to wait a long time for the tenancies to run out, not forgetting there's 12 flats there. Well, there's 11 now with an office. And we've done an absolutely fantastic job. And the way things used to go before Richmond Fellowship moved in to the flats, Chair, was we used to, anyone with bipolar suffering from depression had to leave Barrow-in-Furness. They would go to Lancaster, Preston and whatever. So we've done a fantastic job with there. And same as Jan, I'd like to thank Jan and the team and the fantastic partnership with Richmond Fellowship. And so I'd like to move the recommendations, Chair. This is something this administration should be proud of.
Thanks, Kevin. Anybody else?
I'll second that recommendation.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful use of our property there. So we all agreed on that? Yep.
Thank you.
Splendid. Right, let's have a look. Brilliant Barrow Town Deal Assurance Framework. This is another exciting item. Oh, it says Michael Barry. So you're doing this. Are you doing this as well, Steph? Go for it.
So Barrow Council is the accountable body for Townsdeal. We signed the heads of terms with government in October to say that we would get the 25 million subject to the completion of full business cases. So the work on the full business cases is being done now for submission to government in November. So there'll be another report to exec committee to sign those off. A key element of us as an accountable body and a term and condition from the heads of terms is that we have an assurance framework which satisfies ourselves as the council, as the accountable body and central government that we will use the money wisely and effectively. So the assurance framework that's been developed, which has also been agreed through the Brilliant Barrow Board, is based on the Local Enterprise Partnerships National Assurance Framework. So it's a very lengthy document that's attached. We've been working closely with partners to develop it, and it's here today for you to note the role of the accountable body and to endorse the assurance framework, because that will give us the satisfaction with government that we're okay to proceed.
Thanks, Sue. Have we got any questions? Hazel?
Just a simple question. Delivery Group, the board and the Communications and Engagement Group, the Conservative councillors have no representation on those for whatever reason. So could we make sure that we have a copy of all minutes of those three committees and boards sent to all councillors? I don't just mean on the public web, I mean to us. Could we have copies of them? I've continually asked for what we used to have, a weekly list of all meetings and briefings. I've lost count of how many times I've asked for this. It's not very difficult. It's not rocket science. Every department could just send it to a central point and it could be printed. So we would actually know when these meetings were taking place. Along with the minutes, I hope that we also include attendance of people. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll pick that up with John Huck.
Whoops. Any other questions, comments? No? Okay, and seconded? We all agreed? Okay, right, thank you. Next one is Safer Streets rounds 2 and 3. So this is Steph again. Is it? Alec, hello.
Thanks, Chair. Committee will be aware that Barrow Council were a leading partner in the original Safer Streets Round 1 bid, which was successful and provided some targeted anti-acquisitional crime interventions to a specific area of Central Ward and gave us the opportunity to build volunteer and community wealth in the area. The second round of funds for 2021-2022 was run slightly differently in that local authorities could bid direct but had to be endorsed by the Office of Police and Crime Commissioner for the area, who were limited to 3 bids. Barrow Council put in a bid to extend that first Safer Streets Fund project, and we were the tertiary bid within Cumbria's OPCC area. Fortunately, on Thursday, 3rd of June, we were informed that we were unsuccessful in our bid, as only primary and a small number of secondary bids were agreed by the Home Office due to the large number of applications. The same day, the third and slightly unexpected Safer Streets Fund round was announced to the tune of £25 million, and this was set up in the wake of the tragic murder of Sarah Everard down in London. Whilst the first 2 rounds were specific to acquisitional crime, such as burglary, robbery, theft, this third round is looking at improving the safety of public spaces, but with a particular view to combating violence against women and girls, but not limited to that. The objective of the third round is not only to improve safety of public spaces for all, but it's also to look at building the evidence base for what works on reducing violence against women and girls and increasing their women and girls' feelings of safety in the public domain. We are being encouraged to devise innovative and inventive proposals and been again encouraged not to stick to traditional safer street investments such as CCTV or street lighting. So we are seeking an agreement to discuss a bid with local partners. There is a degree of a consultation that's required with local organisations that specifically help women and girls with dealing with these violent crimes. The timescales are very tight. We've got until the 15th of July is the funding bid cut-off, but we will have to get a bid in on the 7th of July into the OPCC to be considered as one of the 3. Maximum bid per project is £550,000, and it will be done again, 3 OPCC bids per area. So the recommendations that Executive Committee are being asked to agree is to firstly note that the bid for Safer Streets Fund Round 2 was unsuccessful as the fund was heavily oversubscribed. Secondly, to agree to work with relevant local partners to build a bid for Round 3 and seek endorsement from the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner as the primary bid for Cumbria. And thirdly, to delegate the Director of People and Place to lodge a bid for Barrow Borough Council prior to the 15th of July 2021. And just to make it clear that this funding would have to be spent before the end of March 2022.
Thank you. Alec, anybody, any questions, anyone? No. Move it. Seconder? Yeah. All agreed? Splendid. Right. Where are we now? Local authority remote meetings, call for evidence. Debbie.
Thank you, Chair. As members are aware, the provisions which enabled remote meetings following legislation arising from the Coronavirus Act 2020 ceased, and the government is now calling for evidence to understand experiences during the process whilst they consider whether or not to consider new legislation which would permit that moving forward. The deadline for response is tomorrow, the 17th of June, and I've brought forward a paper with a potential response, hopefully that shows our experiences through the process, and members are asked if they're happy to endorse that for submission.
Thanks, Debbie. Any comments? Hazel?
Yeah, just a general comment on this. I mean, I think it's widely known that I'm quite against Zoom meetings. You know, people have been vaccinated now and we've got more safety in place. Zoom meetings, we are constantly told about people's mental health. And there is no doubt whatsoever that Zoom meetings have affected people's mental health. We need to interact with people, and yes, we do interact regardless of politics. We need to discuss things, we need to debate things. We're sitting round here, the word Muppets has been used to me out there in the public. And I can see, looking round here, we do look like a load of Muppets because we're just sitting there, nodding, agreeing. There's no interaction, there's no social interaction. And you know what I mean, Derek, because you were part of it in the past. We used to have decent debates. And I'm very concerned about us having Zoom meetings and going back to them. I can see the point for safety, but we're coming out of it now. One of the factors was about travel, saving on travel. Well, we've got a unique situation in Barrow because none of us has to travel very far to a council meeting. I can understand if we go a great distance, yes, okay, travel would be a factor and we could go on a Zoom meeting and stop the travel. But most of us live locally, therefore travel is not an issue and we can come into the town hall. Thanks.
Thanks, Ursula. Any more comments, anyone? No? I think we'd all rather all be sat around a table with a brew and having a proper chat. Because, I mean, we are here now and this is a bit weird, isn't it? But I think this is just asking for us to have the option because some people are isolating at home and can't get in. So I don't know if anybody wants to alter any of the recommendations. Or are we happy to go with them? Do we have a mover? Yeah, seconder? Agreed? Yeah. Right, last one. Goodness me, appointment on outside bodies. And let's have a look.
I'll take that,
that's
Chair.
You, John.
Yeah,
yes.
Thanks. This is the yearly appointment to outside bodies, panels and working groups. The annual council meeting on 21st of April agreed the allocation of seats to forums, panels, working groups. The Overview and Scrutiny Committee has carried out a review of those outside bodies and were reported to its meeting on the 3rd of June. The recommendations from that committee were for the council to continue to appoint to those organisations where they continue to be active. Group leaders have supplied details of the recommended appointments, and those are before you.
Thanks, John. If we want to change any of these, we can do. We don't have to do it. Does it have to come to a meeting or something?
Normally, it would have to come back to this committee.
Right, because I know one of our, well, Councillor Biggins is on something that he's on the allotments thing and he's got an allotment, so he thinks he shouldn't be on it, which I quite understand conflict of interest. But we wouldn't have to come back. Well, if we replace him with someone, can they go now? And then we'll report it back. And I mean, the same with the Conservatives, if any of their members, for whatever reason. Yeah? Yeah, okay. We'll replace you on it then, Trevor. Is everybody else happy with whatever they're on these lists? Yes? Can somebody move it then? And seconded? And agreed? And have we finished? Does anybody want to know the score in Finland against Russia? 0-0 after 43 minutes. So for those of you who are going up and watch it, just watch the second half, okay?